Who's actually going to get the most out of a compact autoclave, and who should walk away before spending the money? If you're running a small dental office, a tattoo studio, or even a research lab that only needs to sterilize a handful of tools each day, that's the sweet spot. If you're looking for a massive, industrial-grade unit for high-volume hospital use, you'll probably end up paying for capacity you'll never tap. Is the price justified for a typical everyday buyer who just wants reliable sterilization without a big footprint? Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Let's talk about the hesitation most people feel before buying any sterilizer. The first question is usually, will it fit in my limited space and still do the job? The Tuttnauer 1730 Valueklave advertises a compact chamber just 7 inches wide by 13 inches deep, holding roughly 2 gallons. In a cramped office room, that translates to fitting snugly on a countertop next to a sink without blocking the doorway. I've seen a few small practice owners set it up on a standard lab bench and still have room for a laptop and supplies. If you have a dedicated room for sterilization, the size is less of a concern, but for many, that footprint is the main selling point. Next up is the daily usability question. You get 3 trays right out of the box, which means you can load a mix of instruments, small trays, and even a couple of metal containers in one go. The cycle time is advertised as 11 minutes from a hot start. In real life, that means you can run a cycle while you're finishing a patient or setting up your next batch of tools, and you won't be staring at a machine for half an hour waiting for it to warm up. For a busy practitioner, those minutes add up, especially when you can start the next batch while the previous one is drying. The automatic shutoff at the end of both sterilization and drying cycles is more than a convenience, it's a safety net. I've talked to a few lab techs who forget to turn off equipment after a long day, and a unit that powers down on its own eliminates that risk. The dry cycle is built in, so you don't have to pull out the instruments and wait for them to air dry. In a dental office, that means you can hand a tray back to the assistant the moment the cycle ends, keeping patient flow smooth. Now, who should actually buy this? If you're a solo practitioner or a small team that needs to sterilize 1,015 instruments per day, the Valueklave hits the mark. Its 3-tray capacity lets you separate sets: 1 tray for sharps, 1 for reusable handpieces, another for small accessories without needing to reload mid-cycle. That separation is handy for compliance with infection control protocols. You can keep the critical items away from the semi-critical ones and avoid cross-contamination. The quick cycle also means you can keep a rolling schedule, sterilize, load the next set, repeat, all while staying within a typical appointment window. On the other hand, if your practice handles large surgical trays or you run a high-volume clinic that processes dozens of instruments per shift, this unit will feel cramped fast. The 2-gallon chamber can only hold so much, and trying to cram more than the 3 trays will either extend the cycle time or force you to run multiple cycles back-to-back, which can be a bottleneck. In that scenario, you'd be better off with a larger capacity autoclave, even if it costs more and takes up more space. Let's address the price-versus-value equation. The Tuttnauer brand is well known in the medical sterilization space, and even a compact model carries that pedigree. For a small office, the cost is comparable to a mid-range countertop sterilizer from other manufacturers, but you're getting a 3-tray setup and a fast cycle right out of the box. The 4.6-star rating from 19 reviewers suggests that most owners are satisfied, which is a good sign when you're weighing a purchase that can't be easily returned once it's installed. Practical strengths that stand out after the purchase include the reliability of the hot start cycle and the intuitive control panel. There's no need to fiddle with advanced settings. You press start, the machine handles the pressure, temperature, and timing, then shuts off automatically. For a busy office, that simplicity cuts down on training time for new staff. The compact size also means you can relocate it if you rearrange your workspace, something I've heard smaller clinics appreciate when they move to a larger room or need to repurpose a bench. Weaknesses are more about what the unit doesn't do. First, the chamber dimensions 7 by 13 inches mean you can't fit larger instruments like certain endodontic files or bulky surgical tools without folding them or using a separate sterilizer. Second, the unit doesn't have a built-in water filtration system, so you need to ensure you have quality water or use distilled water to avoid mineral buildup in the chamber. That's a maintenance point many forget until the first time.